Best engineer offline, billing down, CTO on vacation. In most organizations, that's the worst case scenario. In Priya's, nothing broke. Here's the structure that made that possible. I rebuilt decision structures inside engineering orgs past 200 people. Same pattern keeps breaking them. 4 shifts fix it. Priya cleared it 6 days into a 2-week vacation. No Slack, no laptop, no emergency calls. Billing goes down. Mark, the engineer who owns that system in his head, he's also gone. But nobody panics. Her team closed it inside the target window without either of them touching it. Here's where it gets interesting though. When I ask CTOs what their job actually is, most get it backwards. I'll show you what that means, but only after the 4 shifts. 6 months ago, 14 meetings a day, 40 escalations a week, 2 to 3 day decision waits. Mark carried billing in his head. Priya was the human operating system. If she got sick, the organization didn't slow, it froze. She didn't manage harder, she redesigned the structure, starting with who gets to decide. From approval queues to decision rights. Before every real decision routed through Priya, senior engineering, or some informal who needs to bless this chain. A junior engineer spots a production fix, writes it up, and waits. Not because the fix is risky, because nobody knows who's allowed to say yes. That's not a process problem. That's a missing decision owner. Priya built a decision rights matrix. Architecture changes, production fixes, roadmap trade-offs, incident comms, vendor decisions. Each row names the owner, the scope, and the escalation trigger. Not suggestions, rules. A production fix under 200 lines, no cross-system impact, on-call engineer gets to decide. Deploy it, document it, move on. Anything irreversible or cross-domain gets a decision record. Owner scope, deadline, escalation trigger. Decision latency dropped from 48 to 72 hours to under 24 for normal team-level calls. Not because people got faster, but because the decision had an owner before the problem arrived. The matrix exposed something Priya didn't expect. Half the decisions her team escalated didn't need her at all. They needed a named owner and a clear boundary. This is the shift most orgs skip. They say, you own this, but never define the territory. So the team still walks over to Priya's desk. Just want to make sure we're aligned. Alignment without boundaries is just approval with a friendlier name. An org doesn't become decentralized when leaders stop caring. It becomes decentralized when decision rights are explicit enough that people can move without guessing. Priya didn't remove herself from the system. She removed the guessing. But here's the catch. Explicit decision rights mean nothing if the system still needs one specific human to function. From hero owners to distributed ownership, Mark carried billing in his head. 6 years of context, edge cases nobody wrote down, deploy rituals only he knew. The rule everyone followed, if billing acts up, you gotta call Mark. It felt like ownership. It was dependency theater. Mark didn't love giving it up. Teaching felt like handing away the thing that made him valuable. But see, Priya reframed it for him. If you're the only person who can fix this, you're not an owner. You're just a single point of failure wearing an owner's badge. Runbooks, rotation coverage, dashboards, escalation rules. Enough shared context that no single human stayed load-bearing. When the incident hit during Priya's vacation, the on-call engineer opened up that runbook, assessed the severity, check the dashboard, and execute the rollback criteria if needed. Mark was offline, so nobody called him. The secondary owner had the context. The runbook had the steps. The system was built for Mark's absence before Mark was actually absent. If your system needs a specific human to function, you don't have ownership. You have dependency theater. Priya being gone proved the org wasn't dependent on the CTO. Mark being unavailable proved it wasn't secretly dependent on the senior engineer everyone called a strong owner. See, that's the real test. So how did Priya know the organization was healthy while she was offline? She didn't. The system did. From status meetings to operating signals, So before Priya learned what was happening through meetings, Slack pings, stand-ups, people keeping her in the loop, she was the human dashboard. She had to ask to know. Now the organization runs on visible signals: cycle time, review wait time, blocked work, deploy health, decision aging. The system shows where attention is needed before anyone has to ask. Every week, the team runs an operating review, not a status meeting where everyone updates the room. They read the signals. Where's the cycle time growing? Which decisions are aging past deadlines? What ownership gaps opened this week? Then they act on what the numbers show. The dashboard is public now. The question changed from what's happening to what does this mean for our next move? And the weekly review got shorter, not longer. Nobody's updating the room when everybody's already looking at the same picture. Status meetings are what organizations run when the operating system is invisible. But see, Priya made hers visible. Now here's what happens when it turns red. From escalation culture to recovery loops. Before, escalation meant get Priya involved. Every exception became leadership gravity. A deploy failed. The first reflex was to loop in leadership, not to fix it, to report it upward. Now, teams have defined recovery loops, severity levels, first responder, rollback criteria, comms owners, and escalation thresholds. And one counterintuitive rule: no escalation without a written decision owner and an attempted recovery path. Before everyone escalates, what decision is needed, who owns it, and what's already been tried. What happens if we do nothing? First real test came in week 3. Someone tagged Priya. We need Priya to weigh in. Her response was public. Pause. What decision are you asking me to make? And who owns the decision under the matrix? Nobody could answer. It got routed back to the team. That first failure of the old habit, that's the moment the new system either becomes real or becomes just another poster on the wall. You see, a decentralized organization isn't one where nothing breaks. It's one where breakage doesn't automatically become executive work. The billing incident during Priya's vacation wasn't luck. The recovery loop triggered, the team executed, and the escalation threshold never got crossed because the system had already absorbed the failure. That's the same incident from the opening. Wrong people, offline, and the work moved anyway. Here's the reversal. If the org runs perfectly without you, most CTOs panic. They think silence means they're obsolete. But it doesn't. It means you stopped being the bottleneck and started being the architect. Priya's job isn't approving things anymore. It's building the people, the decision systems, and the recovery loops that make her silence possible. That's not less valuable. That's the whole job. Your 24-hour action: run a load-bearing human audit. Ask 3 questions. If you disappeared for 2 weeks, what stops? If your best engineer disappeared mid-incident, what breaks? And if both of you were gone, which decisions freeze? Whatever those answers reveal, that's exactly which shifts to start with. Decision rights, distributed ownership, operating signals, or recovery loops. Then pick one dependency and remove it this week. Not document it, not discuss it at an offsite, just remove it. Your org isn't decentralized because people have autonomy. It's decentralized when the wrong person can be offline and the right work still moves. Now get back to work.